are both Christians, so we come at it directly from a Christian perspective, a biblical perspective. And today we have an interesting topic. I want to let you guys know who my co-host is, though. Her name is?
I'm the mystery guest.
That's right.
Shelley Alaman.
Yes. We are four dragons, as you guys may have heard yesterday if you were hanging around. And what that means is, in ancient Chinese, they would say four dragons, the character for four dragons, as one word, it was Zhe. And if someone said you were Zhe, that means you talk too much, so shut up. That is us, guys. So we're going to try and keep this nice and brief. I can't guarantee anything.
I make zero promises.
Absolutely.
Whatsoever. This handsome guy back here, by the way,
yes.
is Eli, the CTDW guy.
Yes, he's a good representative.
I
wouldn't call him a mascot.
I would call him a mascot.
Okay.
He is our mascot. Oh, look. Do you see our producer telling us to quit
chatting? Anyway, he is our representative. So, guys, we're going to be talking today about aliens, the gods rebranded. Okay? And we want to start before we get there with a quick question. What's the difference between an atheist and a Christian? Any takers? Any biters? No?
A Christian believes in one more God than the atheist does?
Does the Bible, though, actually support this view? Is this actually legit? Sean, what do you think?
It does not. The Bible supports monaltery, which is...
very difficult to say.
It is. I finally said it right. I've said it wrong 100 times, I promise. That's the belief that there are many gods, but only one God is worthy of worship, or you choose to only worship one of the many gods.
Correct. So, to clarify, we do believe in more than one God, just that we don't worship all of them. How do we know this to be true? Well, we actually have two references, there's many, but these two references in particular are extremely important. The first being Deuteronomy 32, verses 7 and 8. Go ahead, Sean.
Which talks about the allotment of the nations to the various gods. Plato talks about this as well in his Criteria, where he says that in the time of Atlantis, the world was allotted to the gods. So it's almost identical verbiage. It's just one of those interesting things that you wouldn't have expected from two vastly different sources.
Yes.
But, I mean, you can think of the gods, right? If I ask you who are the gods that you've heard of, who would you say?
Besides, of course, everybody thinks, oh, God, Yahweh, yeah. Who else comes to mind? Anybody? Any takers? Zeus, there you go. There's one.
That's my number one answer, too.
Anybody
always.
Else? Baal? Baal. You got Baal. Exactly. And so...
and that one's right there in the Old Testament.
He sure is.
Baal, Molech, Dagon.
Right. And in Deuteronomy 32, God allots these gods particular regions of the earth. And he says, these you will rule over. I am giving you domain over these. But says specifically about Israel, Israel is my domain. Also in Psalm 82, we know this to be true because...
At that time, though, there was no Israel. Correct.
That's an important point. It delineates there. It says some translations will tell you the sons of Israel, and others say the sons of God. And sons of God here refers to the gods themselves. Psalm 82 actually solidifies this, where it talks about how God comes down and he's governing, or he's passing judgment amongst the gods, as it were. And he says, you have ruled unjustly, and though you are gods, you will die like men. So we know this to be true biblically because we actually have basis for it and what we believe about it. Oh, I see how it works. Okay. So, sorry, the clicker's a little different for me on this one. What can we say about this? So there's a bunch of different terms here, so we're going to cut to the chase. The Bible uses the word watchers, sons of God, angels, etc.
Gods.
We'll keep it simple. Gods. The Bible calls...
little g gods.
Right, little g gods, correct, which is basically what the Bible calls Elohim. Now, just to make it simple, Elohim is just the plural of the word God. So instead of God, gods, okay? They are divine beings. That's what Elohim means. Divine beings are deities, and deities are gods. Okay, good. We got our terminology out of the way. Some of them. So, where are they now? Some are in the deepest underbelly of the earth.
Right?
Right.
Tartarus, right?
Yes, hanging out.
That lowest level of hell that is, well, Tartarus is as lower than hell as the earth is lower than heaven.
Correct.
So I guess it's
Pretty far down. Others have kept their oikaterion, which is a Greek term. It just means their main dwelling place, where they are from, where they originate from, and
a
all.
place they were made for.
Correct. So, all right, fair enough. But wait, what? We're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's back up just a hair. Let's talk real quick about the demigods before we go any further.
Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Who can name a demigod?
Anybody?
Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh. That's a good one, by the
That
way.
is not usually the first
Yeah.
answer people come up with.
I like it.
Love
Anybody
it.
else? No?
Hercules?
Hercules.
Prometheus? Wonder
Prometheus.
Woman?
All those. Wonder
Percy
Woman.
Jackson?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Thor.
No, he's
Thor is
God.
actually God, yeah.
His parents were both gods, which makes him a god.
Yeah.
Which brings up a good place. The difference between a god and a demigod.
Yes.
A demigod has an earthly parent and a celestial parent.
Right.
A god parent, a human parent.
Not like a godparent, like, not
Not
that
like
kind
the
of
fairy
godparent. Like a
godparent,
deity
but
parent, that's what
maybe.
she's saying. Oh, did I kill us? Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry about that, guys. So we want to, from here, really talk about something that is actually very important. Which is the Genesis 6 conspiracy, because this is going to set the backdrop for what we're actually really going towards. Don't worry, we're not giving a sermon. We're going to give you just a little bit of context so we know what we're talking about. So I'm going to let Shell read that as soon as she pulls it up here.
Sorry, he's the one who had it open.
Sorry, my phone, guys. It's up right there. Got it?
I do.
Rock and roll. Okay. It says, as such, ESV, thank you. When men began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God, the gods, saw that the daughters of men, women, were attractive, yes, them, and took them as wives at those that they chose. Now, we're going to come back to that. Then the Lord said, that is Yahweh, my spirit shall not abide in man forever. He is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim, we're going to get to those guys in a second. Those guys are known as demigods. Were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God, the gods, came into the daughters of men, women, and bore children to them. These were the mighty men of old, the men of renown. Think Hercules once again.
Right? Prometheus.
And Prometheus.
The Bible language is sometimes very
Bible-y?
Bible-y, yeah, what's that
Ancient
word?
sounding.
It kind of goes, beats around the bush a little bit.
Right.
And so honestly, that statement is, there were Nephilim in the land whenever the gods mated with women.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Now, it's important, once again, we want to define what demigods are, and I mean, you guys probably get it, but just for the sake of making it clear, demigods, Nephilim, hybrids. Nephilim are just, it really means basically giant. But the specificity of the word Nephilim really refers to hybrid beings, which are half deity, half God, and half human, okay? Which are why we chose the word demigods. That's the easiest way to go. So we know who they are, but what does the biblical narrative and the apocryphal books, which are, extra biblical, say about all this? Well, something in particular about the women and their exchange, right, Shel? What particular about that?
right. Nobody likes to give something away for nothing, right? Anybody like to give something away for nothing?
You guys
We all
want
want
to
a
give
good
us something?
exchange.
You guys want to give us something?
Yeah,
for
you
free?
want to give everything away for nothing?
Of course you
I'll
do.
take your money.
What's that?
I give things away, like, to buy more things.
Right. Well, in this case, right, the women required a dowry.
So what
Right.
we have here is the gods coming in and wanting the women, probably the prettiest ones first. I don't know, that's what one would imagine. But they needed to bring something to get them in to give their daughters up.
Yes.
And what they brought is technology. And I know we think of technology, you know, I think of this as technology, right? But technology is every tool we use. It's fire, it's swords, metallurgy.
Well, and actually the book of Enoch delineates a lot of what this technology is, right? It talks about all sorts of using roots, all sorts of herbology, cosmology, all sorts of stuff. It delineates it very properly, right? Which kinds of things were given in exchange for these women. Now, where did these guys end up going? Because I don't know about you, but I don't have any giants outside my house. Thank God, that'd be terrifying. Well, these...
Insurance would be a nightmare.
Right, insurance, yeah. Well, you'd have to have an insurance agency that wasn't crushed by a giant foot. So there began to be Nephilim wars because these guys were taking over entire populations. They were eating people literally out of house and home, quite literally. And then they started, when the food supply ran out and the warring continued, they started eating humans. And on top of that, they started turning to eating each other because there was nothing left to be eaten as far as besides themselves. We also started seeing more genetic corruption.
Well, right, they were mixing their DNA with everything else's DNA, but especially the humans, in a attempt to breed out humanity. If we have enough half-breeds, then, I mean, what's the percentage of human before you're not human anymore?
Right, and ultimately the goal was, well, we don't want the heavenly place we have. We want to make our own world with our own race, with our own things.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
Yeah, who doesn't, right?
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
No. Thanks, somebody.
That's right. So here we're going to talk about the most important thing about where they went. But before we do this, you can blurt it out or whatever you want, but who here believes that fallen angels are demons? Who here believes that they are something else? Okay, we got one responding.
We have one voter, and he was right.
Thanks, good job, I like your vote. So, the flood was important, and you guys will see there are flood myths all over the place, right? The entire world is littered with flood myths. There are over 200, in fact. I think there's only one place on the planet, Japan, is the only one that actually does not have a flood myth, and that's a topic for a different time. But everyone has one. The Aztecs, African tribes, Akkadians, Sumerians, of course. I mean, it's no surprise there. Everybody literally has one. Well, these non-human entities or half-human entities were literally destroying everything. They were taking over everything, and so they had to be purged, which is what is in not only the biblical memory and the biblical mindset, but in the actual, in my view, in the actual DNA, in our actual very memory, we recall. And that's why so many cultures recall a flood myth, that this was a very common theme. And there was always, right, there was always one
family that was saved.
That's right. There was always one righteous family. Now, it's important here, it's important here to harp on that, and I'm going to let you go ahead and explain why it's so important that one family was saved, Sean.
Well, we're in the room, right? So somebody had to be spared because they're still humans.
Yes.
What matters to us really is the Hebrew narrative, the biblical narrative, right?
Right.
You already know we're Christians. This is how
No
we look
surprise.
at the world. Noah, not even his family, well, I guess his sons. Noah and his sons were found to be genetically pure, which is why God spared them, sent them on the boat with the one family to repopulate the earth, which again is something we see in all of the flood narratives. There's always a family. Names differ, Noah, Gilgamesh, names I can't pronounce or remember because, come on, that's two is enough, right? But the goal was to get rid of the corruption of everything's DNA, not just humanity's DNA, but
all the hybridization, basically.
Everything. Yeah, God is the one who brought the animals to the ark. You know, when you read
Sounds like a cute story, right? But
that narrative, it's not, Noah didn't go and spend 120 years, you know, picking up kangaroos and field mice. God brought them. And I mean, as crazy as that may sound, if you believe that there are deities, then you can pretty much believe anything else. If you don't believe in any deities, then you can still believe in anything else. Because if there was not a God, then everything's possible. And if there is a God, then everything's possible.
Long story short, everything was corrupted in its DNA and it needed a reset. And so scalding waters came from the depths and burned it all up. So
some water from the sky.
Some water from the sky.
50 days, or 40 days and nights of rain, right?
Yeah.
Water 150 days.
So what actually happened to the rebellious gods and their offspring? Well, we're going to start with the gods first. Shemyaza, who was the leader of a group of 200 watchers, or gods, just for simplicity's sake, is, like we mentioned, chained in Tartarus, right? He is down there with all of them for the sins that they committed on humanity and, you know, against the courts of heaven. But what about the demigods? That's a little bit more of a weird aspect to talk about,
Because
right?
you can't kill a god, so
Right.
chain them up, right? In gloomy darkness.
Makes
That's what Jude and 1 Peter say in the New Testament.
Yeah.
That they're chained in gloomy darkness until the time when they are released and come up to cause some mayhem as the destroyers.
Absolutely. And the important part here about demigods in particular is that, yes, their flesh can be taken, right? They can lose their bodies, and they did. But what happens to their spirits? Obviously, their spirits have to go somewhere. They can't just disappear eternally, right? I mean, they're eternal beings. You would think that a spirit has some eternality to it, right? These we do indeed call demons. Now,
Were you gonna get there?
Were you?
I love it.
He just wanted to make sure that we were going to
He's
cover
like,
it.
guys, don't leave out the important part.
Yeah, no, that's
Demons are dead angel babies.
that's right. They are dead angel babies.
Man, I like your term better than ours. We're gonna
That's awesome.
We're gonna use the official terms, but dead angel babies is
That's
going on my
straight
list.
up. Now, the reason we know this from a biblical perspective is really, really important. This is actually very cool. So during the time that Jesus walked the earth, and before that as well, the most common name for a demon, there was a name that was used, which was typically Shedim, which is like evil spirit or unclean spirit, which we're all kind of familiar with. What we may not be so familiar with was actually the more common term, if I'm not mistaken, in the Greek, is Tamu Nafal. Is it Hebrew? My bad, guys. So it's Hebrew. I looked it up, but I didn't look up the source language, so go figure, huh? Tamu Nafal, let's break it down. Tamu actually means to be buried or dead. Nafal is just a singular of Nephilim. Now, a Nephilim, obviously, we know are giants, demigods, all the same. So literally, the word for demon is dead Nephilim, dead demigod. They, of course, have no claim to the heavens, but that doesn't stop them from trying to get there.
Well, and I think something that
Go ahead.
is really important here is that there's spirits without bodies now, and spirits like bodies. It's very dry and uncomfortable to be a spirit living outside of a body. It's unpleasant. So they're looking for bodies, thus we have possessions.
Yes, and it's important to delineate here, actually, it's really good that you're saying that, but angels have bodies. Gods have bodies. They may not be the conventional source or idea that you and I think of a body as, or how it should work, or how it should play out, but they do have bodies. They do manifest here on this earth, and I mean, they're in a physical form, exactly, which is important to delineate. Demons do not. Great. Wonderful. Ricky and Shelley, thank you for your wonderful presentation about the gods and the demigods. But what the heck are you guys doing? What about the aliens? We're getting there. We're gonna, given the nature around both paranormal and supernatural nature of gods and of aliens, I see the tie-in, We want to kind of label this a little bit easier, extra or interdimensional entities or extraterrestrials, however you guys would like to phrase that. Those are all, I think, acceptable terms. We've named them extra or interdimensionals just for kind of clarity's sake, for ease's sake. We're going to be talking about them and their
That
tech.
was anything but clear.
I know, sorry. Want to bring it down for
The
me?
muddiest,
Yeah,
clear
no.
statement
Go ahead,
I've
Sean.
heard in a while.
We're going to call them extra or interdimensionals. How about that?
Has anybody seen the video of the UFOs coming around Pluto? What about the ones, left turn at Mars? They don't exist. We have no data at all showing anything coming into our galaxy it just doesn't exist. They flit in and out of the galaxy very close to Earth and near Earth, or in the atmosphere and the stratosphere, which is interdimensional. It's not somebody from Alpha Centauri coming from 5 galaxies to the left. We have no data, no support. NASA has yet to give a video.
NASA's a whole different
I'm
story
sure
for a
AI is
different time.
making one right now on the TikTok for us, though, now that we're speaking about it.
So an important point here, which Shell, I know exactly where Shell is going, is that these are near or on Earth dwellers, okay? And there actually has been changes in language in our government to reflect this reality. So before we get there, because that is a super important part, I want to harp on this a lot. We just talked about angels and gods being able to have physical bodies. Aliens are no different. Alien wreckage is no different. Bodies are no different. We have biologics, right? We have the government coming out telling us that they have biologics. We have the government telling us that they are reverse engineering multiple types of crafts. This is not a new thing. Most of us, if you're paying attention, you've known this stuff. But when your government comes out and tells you, there's a foundation that's being laid for humanity, okay?
The soft sell and then the walk back, and then the slightly harder sell and then the walk back, and then the congressional hearings and the lovely new terms like biologics and UAPs.
Yep.
And that type of conditioning of bringing it to us slowly so that it's easier for us to absorb and
swallow.
Yeah.
Right.
Swallow.
And some of the things that are important about this physical/metaphysical reality, and the reality in particular of aliens, of alien contact, of alien encounters, is that in every case where there is an attempted abduction, in the name of Jesus, aliens leave. The abduction ceases, it does not continue. Now, UFO encounters also are frequently coupled by paranormal phenomena. So often, very often, when we have UFOs in the sky, or we have aliens on the ground coming to abduct, right, or maybe they don't even show up at all, we have orbs, we have ghosts, phantoms appearing alongside these sightings. It's very, very common. The term itself, right, UAP. Everybody heard this term now before? It used to be UFO. That was our traditional understanding, our traditional language.
To explain.
Yeah, so much easier. Well, UAP means unidentified anomalous phenomena, which is a mouthful, about as bad as what I said a while ago trying to introduce this topic.
We can't explain it very well.
It means we can't explain it. But this happened, and the reason it happened, again, we absolutely believe it's a slow, soft sell. But the reason it happened is that it is extra-dimensional and interdimensional. You can go straight into the water without a splash. That defies physics. But if you go straight through the earth or come out of the earth, that's a whole different type of breaking physics. That's crazy. Making crazy right angles at speeds that would turn anybody else's body into slush is not a normal thing. It's outside of the laws of physics.
But flitting in and out of one dimension to another dimension, speed's irrelevant at that point.
Yeah. So here we want to get into this, the modern Christian understanding and rather misunderstanding of supernatural creatures. Guys, the idea of the word science being this kind of illustrious, beautiful, sleek thing that works perfectly is a very, very new invention. Very new. Before it was chemistry, it was alchemy. Let's just be very clear about that, right? Alchemists knew that there was a spiritual component to the things that they were trying to create or make, so on and so forth. I mean, the alien phenomenon is no different than that.
Right. There seems to be a disconnect for people. We all know about church, the separation of church and state, right? Like, people love to talk about it. There's a separation of faith and science,
Yeah.
right? Two of them, you can't mix them together. Anybody agree or disagree with that statement? Nobody?
Okay.
Can you mix them? You don't mix them?
They are interchangeable. They are one.
They are the same thing. When
Correct.
you stop your brakes, when you put your foot on your brakes in your car, what do you expect to happen?
Not die, right? Please.
When you press on your brakes, what's a car do?
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
No, I was saying that I think that they're interchangeable.
Oh, they're interchangeable. Okay,
Thank you,
cool.
buddy.
Yeah, because I
Thank you.
totally agree.
Yep.
But in Christianity, very frequently, we separate them
Yes.
and act like faith is its own thing and science is its own thing. But when you use your brakes, you are not relying on a scientific method for your car to stop.
Correct.
You have faith that those brakes are going to work and you're not going to slam into the person in front of you. And that's how life is. Life is such a blend of belief and data.
Absolutely. And on that note, I really we're almost done. We're about to drive our point home here. The calling card of the fallen gods and their offspring is always towards deception, guys. Always, always. In fact, the actual blurriness of our scientific instruments is a testament to this reality, right? We 100% believe that the gods came to give us the technology that we have access to. Ancient technology we can't reproduce, and the current technology that we have now. But if you've ever tried to record a ghost, or you've ever tried to capture audio of some sort of paranormal phenomenon, what always happens? It's always choppy, it's always unclear, it's always weird. That is not by mistake. That is intentional. And it's all Big Brother tech, right? It's all Big Brother tech. We want to divorce these two ideas, but they're not divorceable. Just like you guys, many of you just said, it's all angel tech. It's all, you can use it for good or for bad.
Explain that when you say Big Brother, that's who he means.
Yeah.
He means angels or the gods.
That's exactly right. God made us all as a family, and that was the original intention, which is why they are our big brothers, and it's their tech. But we want to divorce these ideas. The same tech given to the fallen gods for their own ends and imperfect models is just modified for humanity for their means. So last but not least, we're about to finish up here. I'm going to cut to the chase. Told you guys we were four dragons. We warned
We're
you.
so long form, doing something in a half hour. We could do an intro that's more than a half hour long.
What's the end game, guys? The end game, ultimately, they're going to come back. Mark our words. They will be here. You guys have probably noticed with increasing frequency that we are hearing more and more about alien phenomenon happening, both UAPs, UFOs, actual biologics, encounters with aliens, all sorts of stuff like that. They're coming back. And what they ultimately want is union from us with them.
Did anybody expect to see aliens on April 8th?
True story.
Yeah?
See?
Like
That
I
is-
know, even my boss, when I was telling
Yes.
her I was going to Dallas to watch the solar eclipse, she was like, I bet you aliens are going to land. I bet you they're going to come during the solar eclipse. And I heard it a lot.
And
It was,
it's not an insult,
and I
man.
wasn't like
You know?
totally like, nah, it can't happen. I wouldn't have been super surprised if there had been something orchestrated like that on that day.
The ultimate thought here we want to leave you guys with is that there is a singularity that is coming. It is a melding with these, what they like to label themselves aliens. They are the gods rebranded. They are the same things that have always existed. And ultimately, we are, in the long run, we are a bargaining chip for them. They know how our psyche works. They know how our emotions work. They know how to play it.
Right. Here's the deal. The Bible talks about a great deception.
Yeah.
And people speculate as to what this great deception is. It seems to me that it's very possible that what we are going to see is the old gods coming back with a new mask.
Yep.
I mean, it's not that new because now we've had alien visitations for what, 70 years in America?
On the regular, yeah.
So it's not very difficult to see that we have been programmed and prepared to accept something like this.
Yeah.
Most of you probably don't have an altar to Zeus in your, I don't know, living room, right?
I mean, I know.
Me neither. Although sometimes the TV, I wonder.
Right.
But if there was an alien invasion in here, who would really be surprised?
Right? I mean, I guess we're speaking to the choir here because you guys are kind of on board with a lot of these concepts anyway. But
Right.
but what we're trying to transmit to you guys is that what's coming is not for our benefit.
And it's not
It's
new.
not for humanity's benefit, and it's not new.
And
it
it's
is the God's
not from
rebranding.
Alpha Centauri.
Right.
It's been here all along, doing a long game, looking to prepare us
Yep.
to be able to go along with their plan. And their plan ultimately is to destroy humanity, make us no longer completely human. That sounds so crazy to say. I totally get it. I'm sure it sounds really wacky to hear because it sounds weird coming out of my mouth. But how hard is it to make a human not human? What percent do you need to change of your DNA?
Are we not
until you're
already?
not human anymore?
Are we not already seeing these kind of technologies rolled out? I mean, frankly, it's not a far stretch to believe that this is the end game. So.
Neuralink?
Correct.
Man, but like not Elon Musk's Neuralink, but you know, Zimzum's Neuralink.
Right. Guys, man, that's really our presentation. We want to thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys are interested in listening to us, that's our QR code. You guys can check us out online. We'll be back here, be hanging out.
Okay, remember we're long form, this
yes.
is short form, all of the things you're like, what, they left out a gazillion things. We did, it's okay, go to our podcast.
Or come talk to us, man. We're going to be hanging out here. We would love to chat with you guys. I mean, we're a podcast. We love to chat. So
We hear we have some time still on the stage, so if anybody has any
questions or
question
comments
or challenge, this is the time. No, nobody? We were
Going twice.
that concise?
Wow.
No, nobody thinks we left something out that is vital?
If I can add something to that,
I will
Go ahead.
take your addition.
okay, so going back to Genesis chapter 3, when Satan cursed, when God cursed Satan, he said, I'll put enmity between your seed and the seed of the woman, right?
Absolutely, Genesis
And this is
3:15.
something else that God said to the serpent. And from her seed shall come one whose heel you will bruise, and whose skull you will crush.
Yep.
That was right.
And so Satan, at that point, realized that there would be an offspring of Eve that would destroy him.
Hold on a half a second, Pastor, only because I don't know if the mics are going to pick you up, so let me reiterate really quick what you said. So Genesis 3:15, after the fall of man, God says to the serpent, this is your punishment. I'm going to put enmity or war between the woman's seed and the seed of the serpent, or the seed of the devil. One is coming from the woman who will crush your head, but you'll bruise his heel a little bit.
Correct.
And that we call that, Ricky and I call that the seed war.
Yeah.
And you see representation of this again in every single society.
Correct.
You see a seed war. You see it in Ohio in our serpent mound with the serpent coming out and eating the seed. You see it every Chinese New Year with the dragons chasing after the ball, the seed. You see it in the ziggurats in South America. The 2 times a year that you see the snake doing the slithering on the ziggurat.
Solstice hits just right, that sort of comes down.
It's a very common message that mankind has lots of opportunities to be warned.
Identify.
We've so many different ways.
So, I wanted to finish my point.
Finish,
still.
Pastor.
Go ahead.
We're halfway there. Genesis chapter 6. And it grieved God that he had made humanity, for he saw wickedness amongst men.
Yes.
But he found favor in Noah's eyes. And Noah, a man perfect in his genealogy, he had, like you said, a perfect genetic heritage.
He had no genetic corruption at all.
Exactly. So what was going on here is God was prophesying the destruction of Satan's kingdom. And Satan said, oh, no, you're not. I'm going to pervert the seed line so that Jesus never comes. Because where Jesus was crucified was on Mount Golgotha, the head of the skull.
Right. The
Which the
hill.
cross is like a sword driven down onto the head of Satan.
Yep.
I have never got that symbology. That is so good. Now I'm going to reiterate again.
So that was the fulfillment of prophecy spoken by God.
Right. So also in Genesis 6, sorry guys, I know you're hearing it twice in the audience. I'm sorry. God has favor upon Noah because Noah has pure DNA. Because Satan's whole goal was to corrupt mankind's DNA until it no longer existed, which would make God a liar, which would be the way to kill God, the way to impugn his perfection, his character. And so the flood stopped that. So the hill of the skull, Golgotha, that Pastor just mentioned as well, is the place where David buried the Nephilim Goliath's head. That's why it's called the Hill of the Skull. But the representation of the cross being driven into that hill like a sword into the skull of the serpent, that's beautiful. That is amazing. I had not thought of that. There's so much symbology in there all the time. That is fantastic. Thank you absolutely for adding that.
Do you have any thoughts on the divine council, which is kind of more positive version of that
I do actually. I do personally. So we're going to stick in Genesis a bit, which
It's an important verse.
it is. It's very important. The divine council worldview is what we happen to subscribe to, Rick and I. Adam and Eve were part of that divine council. Initially, in the garden is called the Hill of God or the Mountain of God, where the divine council came together, and Adam was on that council. Adam and Eve were on that council along with the angels before the fall, and they were the ones to whom the earth was allotted, the 72. I assume that there are some who are still faithful to God. You know, when the serpent says to Eve, hey, did God really say that you can't eat the fruit? And she says, oh, we can't even touch it, which she's added now to what God said, right? He just said, don't eat it. Didn't say anything about touching it. He says, will you surely die? You won't surely die. And so she sees that this thing is alluring. and she eats it and gives some to her husband who's standing right there next to her. They both are right there. She didn't go hunt them down later. They immediately died. They immediately were locked out of the divine council. They were immediately denied access to those dimensions that they had been in before. That is a death. It's not a complete death. But man, what a horrible death to have been in the presence of God and divine beings, and now to basically be blind for the rest of their life.
It's interesting that Shell's touching on that. The fact that Adam and Eve were part of the divine council, we always look at this whole being kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And we all know the story. It's just nothing new. Everybody's heard this, even if it's just on a child's play level, right? They do the bad thing. They eat the fruit. They get kicked out. You don't have any clothes. We all know the story. The fascinating part is being kicked out of the garden was a mercy by God. Why? If God would have allowed Adam and Eve to continue to eat from this tree for a time immemorial, that's exactly the state that they would be in a corrupted, terrified, stuck, unfixable state for all of existence. There would have been no turning back, and therefore no salvation for humanity, no hope for humanity. That's why it's so different. That's the difference between the gods and ourselves, right? They live outside of the time constraints that we have. So for them, when they made the error, God's like, you knew what you were doing. When he kicked us out, he says, you knew that it was wrong, but you did not know the consequence. That's why it's the tree of good and evil. Therefore, since you do know the difference now, if I give this to you more, you will be trapped, just like these corrupt sons of God that are mine. So as a mercy, I will push you out, and you lose your seat on the divine council right now. But if you come, follow, and seek me, triumph, allow yourself to triumph through the seed war that I am winning for you, which is why when Christ came, dies on the cross, and gives us, the Gentiles, a second chance to be redeemed, that is a second opportunity to come back into the divine council at the end of the age, when all is torn away, when the veil is removed, and we see things for what they truly are. We will be back on that divine council. We do but need ask Christ to come and be our Lord and Savior, forgive us of our sins, and turn to him and find salvation, that we may once again be on the divine council.
That was awesome.
Anything else? Because I feel like that was like the perfect place to stop. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys, man, for listening. Love you guys. Hey, we'll be hanging out if you guys want to come chat or anything at all, okay? Thank you guys so much for your time.